What if everything you've ever believed about God, fate, and the blessings of life was simply a misunderstanding of your own power? What if the universe, in all its vastness, is not a distant deity but a living force that is woven into your very being, and the only real blessing is the strength of your own will? We live in a world where the idea of divine favor, destiny, or blessings from above governs much of human thought. Many believe that the universe, or a godly figure, selectively bestows grace on individuals, making their lives easier or granting them success. But what if the truth is far simpler and far more empowering? According to some of the greatest minds in philosophy, the universe is not an external deity that chooses who to favor. Instead, it is the very fabric of existence and the life force within. It is not distributed based on divine preference, but on our capacity to shape our own lives. This is where the idea of the will comes into play. Our will is the driving force, and the strength or weakness of that will determines our place in the universe. Both Baruch Spinoza and Friedrich Nietzsche provide radically different but equally transformative perspectives on the nature of life, the universe, and our place within it. Their work challenges us to reconsider what it means to be blessed, what it means to have free will, and what power we hold as individuals. Baruch Spinoza, a 17th-century Dutch philosopher, is known for his pantheistic view of God and the universe. For Spinoza, God is not a separate, supernatural entity that governs the universe. Instead, God is the universe. Every element of existence, the stars, the earth, human beings, and the smallest particles, is an expression of this single, infinite substance, which he calls God or nature. This worldview changes the way we think about ourselves and our place in the cosmos. If we are all expressions of the same divine substance, then we are not at the mercy of a distant God. Instead, we have the power to understand the universe and, through that understanding, align ourselves with its natural flow. Free will. Spinoza's concept of free will is also crucial. He argues that free will, as traditionally conceived, does not exist. Instead, everything we do is determined by the laws of nature, including our own nature. We are not free in the sense that we can act outside of these laws, but we can achieve a higher form of freedom through understanding. By comprehending the true nature of the universe and our place within it, we can align ourselves with its flow and make choices that reflect this deeper knowledge. This is not freedom from necessity, but freedom through necessity. We become free not by escaping the laws of nature, but by understanding them and living in harmony with them. Where Spinoza saw the universe as a harmonious whole, Nietzsche's vision is more dynamic and challenging. For Nietzsche, life is not about aligning with an external force, but about harnessing the power of our own will. Friedrich Nietzsche, a 19th-century German philosopher, introduced the concept of the will to power, which is a central idea in his work. Nietzsche believed that life is driven by the will, the desire to grow, to assert oneself, and to overcome obstacles. This will to power is not just about survival or domination, but about creativity, strength, and self-overcoming. Strong versus weak will. Nietzsche's concept of free will is intimately tied to the idea of strength. He distinguishes between the strong-willed and the weak-willed. For Nietzsche, the strong-willed are those who embrace life with all its challenges, who take responsibility for their actions, and who shape their own destiny. On the other hand, the weak-willed are those who relinquish their power, who submit to external forces, be they gods, societal expectations, or fate. Nietzsche saw this submission as a form of weakness, a denial of one's true potential, the power of the will. In Nietzsche's view, the universe does not inherently bless or curse anyone. Instead, it is up to us to become the blessed ones through our own willpower. The strong-willed individual creates their own blessings by asserting their will and overcoming the obstacles life throws their way. Spinoza shows us that we are all part of the same divine substance, the universe, and that understanding this can lead to a kind of freedom. Nietzsche, on the other hand, emphasizes the power of the individual will within this universe. By combining these two perspectives, we arrive at a philosophy where the universe is the ultimate source of life, but it is through our own will that we shape our experience within it. There is no external blessing to wait for. Each of us has the power to become the blessed one through our understanding, our will, and our actions. The nature of freedom. What role do we play in shaping our own lives? For many, the answer is linked to the concept of freedom, particularly free will. For Spinoza, everything, including human beings, is part of an all-encompassing, infinite substance, God or nature. Spinoza argues that humans are not free in the way we typically imagine, where we make isolated choices independent of external forces. Instead, we are expressions of nature's laws, and our thoughts and actions are just as determined as anything else in the natural world. When we align our desires and will with the inevitable laws of nature, we attain a kind of intellectual freedom. This means recognizing that we are not separate from the universe, but are deeply interconnected with it. Will to power and self-overcoming. Where Spinoza finds freedom in understanding, Nietzsche finds it in action, specifically in the exertion of will. Nietzsche's philosophy centers on the concept of the will to power, which he believes is the fundamental driving force in all living beings. Rather than seeing life as bound by laws or divine forces, Nietzsche argues that life is an expression of will, an inherent striving for power, growth, and self-overcoming. However, Nietzsche does not view the will to power as a simple desire for dominance over others. Instead, it is a broader idea of self-actualization and personal mastery. The strong will, in Nietzsche's terms, is one that continually seeks to overcome its own limitations, to grow, and to assert its creative force in the world. The weak will, by contrast, is characterized by passivity, resignation, and the avoidance of struggle. Life is not something that simply happens to us, dictated by external forces. Instead, life is a battlefield where the strong rise by embracing challenges and the weak fall by yielding to them. This brings us to one of Nietzsche's most important concepts, self-overcoming. The notion here is that true freedom is found not in escaping life's challenges, but in facing and transcending them. The individual must continuously strive to become something greater than they were, overcoming their weaknesses, fears, and societal constraints. This process of self-overcoming is not linear or guaranteed, but it is essential for achieving what Nietzsche calls the Übermensch, or overman, a being who has fully realized their potential and creates their values, free from societal or religious dictates. The role of will in the universe. At this juncture, we can see the tension between Nietzsche and Spinoza's concepts of will, but perhaps there is a deeper connection between these two philosophies. If the universe is God, as Spinoza suggests, then perhaps Nietzsche's will to power is an expression of this divine force within each of us. The universe, in its vastness and complexity, does not favor anyone, but it also does not hinder us. Instead, it offers us the raw material, challenges, opportunities, and obstacles that we must shape with our own will. Seen in this light, Nietzsche's strong will is not in opposition to Spinoza's universe, but is a natural outgrowth of it. We are part of the universe, but we are also creators within it. Our free will is not something separate from the cosmos, but is an expression of the same forces that move the stars and shape the mountains. Shaping your own destiny. The question now becomes, how do we apply these abstract philosophical concepts to our lives? The answer lies in understanding the roles that both will and understanding play in shaping our existence. From Spinoza, we learn that knowledge is power. The more we understand the universe and our place in it, the less we are swayed by external forces like fear, anger, or greed. We find peace not in changing the world around us, but in changing how we perceive it. The universe is not a chaotic, indifferent force. It is a vast, interconnected system in which we have a place, and understanding that place leads to liberation. From Nietzsche, we learn that power is not something to be passively received, but actively created. The strong will is one that faces the challenges of life head-on, refusing to be cowed by adversity. If the universe does not favor anyone, then we must favor ourselves. We must create our meaning, assert our power, and continually strive for self-overcoming. The universe provides us with opportunities, but it is up to us to seize them. Challenging traditional morality. If the universe is indifferent and doesn't bless or favor anyone, then it follows that moral systems built on divine judgment or reward must also be questioned. Spinoza, with his deterministic outlook, argues that good and evil are relative terms. These concepts don't exist as objective realities, but as subjective judgments we make based on how something affects us. For Spinoza, something is good if it promotes our ability to exist and flourish, and bad if it diminishes that power. In this way, morality is not about adhering to divine commandments, but about understanding what enhances or diminishes our capacity to live in alignment with the universe. Nietzsche, on the other hand, goes even further in dismantling the foundations of traditional morality. He famously declares in his work Beyond Good and Evil that the morality of the past is rooted in the interests of the weak, particularly Christian morality. Nietzsche distinguishes between what he calls master morality and slave morality. Master morality is the value system of the strong, those who create their own values and determine what is good based on what benefits their will to power. Slave morality, in contrast, is the morality of the weak, who, out of resentment, define good and evil based on what helps them survive and weakens their oppressors. For Nietzsche, traditional morality, with its emphasis on humility, self-sacrifice, and obedience, is a tool for the weak to control the strong. Instead of encouraging individuals to embrace their power and potential, it suppresses them, making them meek and dependent on external systems of judgment. This is where Nietzsche calls for a revaluation of all values, a shift away from externally imposed moral systems and towards the creation of one's values based on strength, creativity, and the will to power. The role of suffering, a path to growth or understanding. One of the central aspects of both Nietzsche and Spinoza's thought is how they view suffering, not as something to be avoided or feared, but as a fundamental aspect of life that holds profound meaning. But here again, their approaches differ significantly. For Spinoza, suffering often stems from ignorance. Suffering is an indicator of our lack of knowledge. The more we comprehend the natural order and the reasons behind our experiences, the less suffering we endure. Nietzsche, however, embraces suffering in a more visceral way. Nietzsche argues that suffering is essential for growth, transformation, and greatness. In his view, life's challenges and struggles are what forge strength. Nietzsche's famous proclamation, "What does not kill me makes me stronger," reflects his belief that suffering, hardship, and overcoming obstacles are integral to the process of becoming the Übermensch, an individual who transcends the limitations of ordinary human existence. Authenticity and self-creation, living in alignment with the will. Both Spinoza and Nietzsche emphasize the pursuit of authenticity, albeit from different angles. For Spinoza, living authentically involves understanding and aligning with the natural order of the universe, transcending emotional disturbances, and recognizing our unity with the eternal flow of nature. As he put it, freedom is the only good, where freedom comes from comprehending and embracing our place within the cosmos. Nietzsche, on the other hand, views authenticity as the creation of one's own values in defiance of societal norms and external pressures. He believed, "Become who you are," encouraging individuals to forge their own path, face life's chaos with courage, and continually strive for self-overcoming. In essence, Both philosophers advocate for a life that reflects our deepest truths, whether it's embracing the natural order or shaping our own existence through will and self-creation. The overcoming of fear, embracing the unknown. Both Nietzsche and Spinoza, in their unique ways, call on us to overcome fear. The fear of suffering, the fear of death, and the fear of the unknown. For Spinoza, fear is rooted in ignorance. When we do not understand the causes of things, or when we cling to the illusion of being separate from the universe, we live in a constant state of anxiety. Spinoza's remedy is knowledge. The more we understand the necessary order of the universe, the less we fear. When we see ourselves as part of the eternal substance of nature, even death loses its sting. We come to realize that we are not finite beings cut off from the whole, but eternal expressions of an infinite reality. Nietzsche's view of fear is more combative. He sees fear as something to be faced head-on. Life is filled with uncertainty, chaos, and danger, and to shrink from this reality is to deny life itself. Nietzsche calls on us to live dangerously, to embrace the uncertainty of existence and find meaning not in safety or security, but in the act of facing our fears and creating meaning through our actions. For both philosophers, overcoming fear is central to living authentically. Spinoza's path is through understanding and acceptance, while Nietzsche's is through courage and will. But in both cases, the message is clear. Fear binds us, weakens us, and prevents us from living fully. To overcome fear is to take a step toward freedom, embracing your role in the universe. As we've journeyed through the philosophical landscapes of Spinoza and Nietzsche, one thing becomes clear. Life is not something that simply happens to us. Whether we believe in the determinism of Spinoza or the fierce individualism of Nietzsche, the central message is that we have a role to play in shaping our own existence. Spinoza teaches us that the universe is not some distant, arbitrary force, but a living, interconnected whole. The laws of nature apply to everything, including us, and our freedom comes from understanding those laws and aligning our lives with them. This understanding brings peace because it allows us to see that everything happens for a reason, even if that reason is part of a larger, complex system beyond our control. Nietzsche, on the other hand, challenges us to take control of our own lives. Instead of waiting for the universe to bless us, he encourages us to create our own values and live according to our own vision. This requires courage, strength, and a willingness to embrace life's challenges as opportunities for growth. Nietzsche's philosophy reminds us that while we may not always have control over what happens to us, we do have control over how we respond to it. Living a life of purpose. Both Spinoza and Nietzsche ask us to look beyond superficial desires and focus on something deeper. Spinoza encourages us to seek understanding and live according to reason. For him, the highest form of life is one in which we come to know ourselves and our place in the universe. This self-knowledge brings peace because it helps us to let go of false desires and distractions. Nietzsche, on the other hand, tells us that living a life of purpose means embracing struggle and creating meaning through our actions. He believed that the most powerful people are those who are not afraid of difficulty, who use their will to power to shape their destiny. For Nietzsche, purpose comes from pushing past our limitations and constantly striving for more. At their core, both philosophies ask us to look inward. Instead of relying on external rewards or blessings, we are called to cultivate our own inner strength and wisdom. This is where the concept of free will comes in. Not in the sense that we can control everything, but in the sense that we can choose how we respond to life's challenges. Finding meaning in suffering. Another essential part of life is how we deal with suffering. Spinoza suggests that suffering comes from misunderstanding the world. When we fail to see the bigger picture, we feel pain. But if we can learn to accept that everything happens according to natural laws, we can find peace even in difficult times. For Spinoza, Suffering is something to be understood and accepted as part of the universal order. Nietzsche takes a different approach. He believes that suffering is not something to avoid, but something to embrace. For Nietzsche, life's struggles are what make us stronger. By facing our pain and pushing through it, we grow and become more powerful. Nietzsche encourages us to view suffering as a necessary part of the journey towards self-overcoming, living authentically, creating your own path. At the core of both Spinoza and Nietzsche's philosophies lies the pursuit of authenticity, living in harmony with one's true nature. For Spinoza, this means embracing reason, recognizing our place within the greater whole, and finding peace in understanding the universe's natural order. Authenticity, in his view, is achieved by aligning our actions with reason and living in harmony with nature's rational structure. In contrast, Nietzsche's concept of authenticity is more dynamic and daring. He urges us to create our own values, live boldly, and push ourselves beyond our limitations. For Nietzsche, true authenticity is about self-overcoming and reshaping the world through our will. While Spinoza's path is one of wisdom and understanding, Nietzsche's demands courage and creativity. Both lead to fulfillment, but in different ways. The common thread is living with purpose, aligning oneself with something greater than fleeting pleasures, and finding meaning in growth and transformation. Man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? Friedrich Nietzsche. Conclusion: the universe and you. So, how do we put all of this into practice? If the universe is indeed a form of God, as Spinoza suggests, then we are all part of something vast and eternal. Our lives are expressions of the same divine force that moves the stars and shapes the cosmos. Understanding this gives us peace, because we see that we are not separate or insignificant. We are part of the universe itself. At the same time, Nietzsche challenges us to not just accept our place in the universe, but to rise above it. The universe may be indifferent, but that doesn't mean we have to be. We can choose to create meaning, to define our own path, and to live with purpose. By embracing both understanding and action, we live a life that is both in harmony with the universe and driven by our own will. In the end, the message is simple. The universe doesn't bless someone special. It's not waiting to reward you for just existing. But if you work on yourself, if you seek to understand the world and act with purpose, you can create your own blessings. You can live a life of strength, wisdom, and meaning, guided by both the knowledge of Spinoza and the will of Nietzsche. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more insights on spirituality and personal growth. Your support helps us bring more thought-provoking content to you.